Buenos dias, Brooklyn. How was your long weekend? Mine was great. It was very relaxing. I didn't do anything special. Buenos dias, Marion. Malia, ¿cómo estás? I hope everyone enjoyed their long weekend. So who remembers what this is asking behind me, you guys? ¿Cuánto te gusta la pizza? ¿Cuánto with the T, right? ¿Cuánto te gusta la pizza? What is that asking? Do we remember, you guys? I know it's like an early Monday morning, except it's Tuesday, right? Who remembers? What is that question asking? ¿Cuánto te gusta la pizza? Remember what is cuánto? Well, look it up here. This might give us a clue as well. Yes, very good, Jomarian. So how much do you like pizza? So remember, we looked at these words. We said nada, poco, bastante, mucho. So tell me in chat. I like pizza not at all, a little bit, pretty well, or a lot. Or if you rather unmute, that's my preference, is that y'all unmute. ¿Cuánto te gusta la pizza? Pop your answers in the chat, por favor, while we wait for a couple of other folks. Nada. Poco, bastante, o mucho. Okay, muy bien, Brooklyn. Do you remember where it would go in the sentence if we were to use a full sentence? Hola, Marleisha Arshad, ¿cómo estás? Hope y'all enjoyed your long weekend. I'm trying to get you all to remember these. Remember these? ¿Cuánto te gusta la pizza? We decided was how much do you like pizza? So how would we use these in a sentence in response to the question? Perfect, Joe Marion. We have nada, poco, bastante, y mucho. How would we use those in a sentence? How you doing, Arshad? Bien? So you can unmute, you guys, or pop it in the chat. ¿Cuánto te gusta la pizza? So far I have mucho. I have two muchos. Malia, Marlasia, Arshad, how about you guys? ¿Cuánto te gusta la pizza? Another minute, you guys, and then we'll get started. So tell me how much you like pizza. Nada, poco, bastante, o mucho. Good, Marlasia. Good, Malia. Okay, so there's a lot of things we could say here, right? I'll just go with mucho because most of you said mucho. So we could say in response to the question, how much do you like pizza? You could say, I like pizza a lot. Me gusta mucho la pizza. Me gusta mucho. So notice the different word order, right? It's literally what we're saying is I like a lot pizza, right? Okay. Then we had our next one was I like it pretty well. We could say pretty well. So me gusta bastante la pizza. Me gusta poco, right? I don't like it very much. I like it a little bit, right? Me gusta poco. And then we had not at all. And this one, you guys, because it's negative, it works a little differently, right? So you would say, no me gusta nada la pizza. So you have to add that negative no. Okay. Even if the question is not like a yes or no question, like this is asking you how much, you still, because nada is a negative thing in Spanish, it's always a double negative, right? So no me gusta nada. So I guess you would not say me gusta nada. That doesn't work. You have to say no me gusta nada la pizza. Okay. All right. That's a lot. Okay. Muy bien. So let's see what we're going to do today, you guys. Change up my background. And what we're going to do today is, well, first of all, let's do martes, because normally we're not together on a martes, right, you guys? We're not together on a Tuesday. So, hoy es martes. Oh, I'm typo there. Hoy es martes, right? Today is Tuesday, el 2 septiembre, right? And yesterday, ayer, fue el primer septiembre. El primer, the 1st of September. So when we give the date, right, you guys, if it's the 1st of the month, you know, you're not going to use the word uno, just like you wouldn't say it's 1 September, right? We always say it's like September 1st or August 1st or whatever 1st, right? So in Spanish, you do the same thing. They don't use uno. They would use the word primer, like primer, okay? So ayer, yesterday, fue el primer septiembre. Hoy es martes, el 2 septiembre, okay? Y practiquemos con los verbos de deseo y preferencia. Does anybody see a cognate here? Practiquemos con los verbos de deseo y preferencia. There's a bunch of cognates. Can you pluck any out? Yeah, practiquemos, right? Let's practice, right? Muy bien. Any others, you guys? Verbos, very good. Verbs, preferencia, very good, right? Preferences, absolutely. What about that deseo? That's a tricky one. So if we're talking about preferences and liking, right? We did gustar. What do you think deseo could be? Desires, things that you want. Yeah, desire, deseo, right? Okay, muy bien. So let's get started, you guys. So there are no guided notes to this, okay? And none of this is difficult, okay? It's just a matter of practice, knowing what the forms are for our verbs of preference and our verbs of like what we want, okay? So we're just going to practice with the forms. What that means is that because since we don't have any guided notes, if you want, you can start your own. If you want to put it on paper or if you want to open a document, that's kind of really up to you, whatever you prefer. Okay, so I'll give you guys a minute to get oriented or organized, I should say. If you don't want to take notes, then head on over to the resource library. Okay. And I think I put it in. I'm pretty sure I did. I may have put in the wrong thing. That's okay. Yeah. And it's in, let me see, what's this one? Yeah. So it's in the resource library as visual guide for grammar unit 4.1. And like I said, I'll give you a minute to kind of get there and get organized. Okay, Brooklyn. Joe Marion, I need you to join us in Spanish, por favor. Okay. So again, you guys either open yourself a document or write it on paper or however you prefer to do this. Okay. It's your choice. All right. Now, remember one thing, you guys, when we look at verbs, the way our textbook is kind of organized, you know, you're going to see these for every unit for the rest of the year, right? And so it's helpful, you know, to follow along, right, as we go through. Okay. All right. Oops, give me 1 second, you guys. I'm going to pause that. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if y'all can see my screen. Okay, perfect. All right. You with us, Joe Marion? Come on. You need to close your other monitor, please. Okay. All right. So let's look at, first of all, what our textbook tells us. Okay. It says in Spanish, the verb querer, which is to want, is used to express desire, and the verb preferir is used to express preference. So a couple of things to point out, you guys, or to remind you of. So remember that in Spanish grammar, we have verbs that we can categorize various ways, right? The two big main categories are regular verbs, verbs that follow a regular pattern. And remember, we're all about patterns in this class, okay? And irregular verbs, which are verbs that follow an irregular pattern, right? So verbs that are just kind of out there doing their own thing, okay? When we look at these irregular verbs, then we can categorize them even further into whether they change their stem, the spelling of the stem or the root, or whether the endings are just weird, or like gustar and encantar that are just out there on their own, really doing their own thing, okay? So what we're looking at here, you guys, are two verbs that are irregular, and what they call, just because I'm just telling you this so you, in case you see the word, you kind of have an idea what they're talking about. Stem changing. And stem changing is what makes them irregular, because you see that in querer, Q-U-E, right, becomes Q-U-I-E. Okay? Preferir, P-R-E, becomes P-R-E-F-E-R, becomes P-R-E-F-I-E. Okay, so it's a stem changing, right? So what does that mean? That means that they both have the regular verb endings for ER and IR verbs, O, ESE, emos, and N, right? But the stem is going to change, okay? So if I want to say I want, yo quiero, tú quieres, usted quiere, él and ella quiere, nosotros queremos, ustedes quieren, ellos and ellas quieren. In this class, we do not focus on vosotros. You will see it, but we don't focus on it because it is used in Spain, right, you guys? And we are in the Americas. And in the Americas, they do not use the vosotros form. So we don't focus on that in class. It's just about knowing that it exists, okay? Because you won't see it used in the Americas, okay? And then to prefer something, you guys, yo prefiero, again, that spelling change, tú prefieres, usted, él, and ella prefiere, nosotros preferimos. So notice it becomes IMOS because preferir is an IR verb, right? And querer is an ER verb. So notice the difference in the spelling here, okay? So I'm just pointing these out to you because we're going to practice them here in just a minute, right? We don't do vosotros. Again, if you're writing these down or typing them in a document, if I go too fast, let me know. All right, so prefiero, prefieres, prefiere, preferimos, ustedes, ellos, and ellas prefieren, okay? Another verb that we're going to look at today is to ask for something. And why are we going to look at this verb to ask? Well, because this unit's about food, yeah? And so let's pretend we're at a restaurant or something like that. And so we would ask for something. So we kind of have to have an idea of how that verb works as well. All righty, so if you're taking notes, give me a thumbs up if I can go on to the next slide. Thumbs up from Malaysia. Thumbs up from Malia. Was that a thumbs up, Brooklyn? Yay. Joe Marion, how about you? You're almost there? Almost? Yeah? Okay. Bueno. All right. Let me erase my scribbles. All right. So let's just look at some examples here, down here. It says, mi tío Pepe, my uncle Pepe, quiere un café con leche. So mi tío Pepe would be, you guys, just as a reminder, replaced by he, right? He wants a coffee with milk, right? He. So él and therefore quiere. Okay. Ustedes quieren postre? Do you all want dessert? Okay. Do you all want dessert? Right. Let's skip down here. Mi amigo Juan Manuel prefers la carne, right? He prefers beef. So mi amigo Juan Manuel would also be the same as saying he, okay? And therefore prefiere, right? So we have to get used to, again, you guys, like replacing the who here, okay? All right, questions so far. Easy stuff, right? Nothing crazy, nothing that we haven't seen before. All right, now here's the other one. Now this one, if you're taking notes, is one you want to make sure that you write down or take a screenshot or something like that, although you can see that it's in your Canvas, okay? But this is our verb to ask, and it's an particularly odd duck. So the verb is pedir, pedir. And what is the first thing that we notice? First of all, you guys, who can tell me what kind of verb is this? Is it an AR, ER, or IR verb? What kind of verb is this? Anybody? Pop it in the chat or unmute. Marlacia, what kind of verb is this? AR, ER, or IR? What's your guess? Yeah, very good. It's an IR verb, right? We know that because we can see that here, okay? And so if it's an IR verb, right, you guys, then we have our IR verb endings. O, ES, E, imos, and N. Okay, so that's normal, right? The problem is this E right here. The E is going to become an I in everything except the nosotros. Now, if you were with me last year in class, you might remember that when we learned our verbs, we always said that the nosotros form always follows the normal pattern. Thank goodness for nosotros, right? It never, like if there's stem changing or this, that, or the other, it doesn't make any difference, right? The nosotros form 9 times out of 10 is never going to change, okay? So I ask, or I ask for, or I'm ordering, or I order, whatever, yo pido, right? So for example, cuando estoy en el restaurante, when I'm at the restaurant, pido la pizza, right? I ask for pizza, or I order pizza. Pido, I ask, okay? Tú pides, usted, él, and ella pide. And then we go back to our normal, nosotros pedimos, ustedes piden, ellos and ellas piden. So in a sentence, ¿qué pide Laura para beber? What does Laura order to drink? Okay, so let's look. Laura or Laura would be the same thing as she, right? Therefore, we would use ella. Okay, our ella form, pide. ¿Qué pide ella para beber? What does she order to drink? Okay. Los niños piden leche con galletas. The kids ask for milk with cookies, right? And so again, this would be ellos. And so we would go with the plural, piden. Remember, you guys, for those of you who, again, weren't with me last year, singulars, right? And then plurals, okay? And we can use that to help us figure out the process of elimination. Okay, if we know that it's niños here and we can't figure out which form to use, right? Well, we know that none of these are going to happen. We need to figure out something from the plural. And if I'm not including myself, because remember, nosotros is always tagged with an yo. So if it doesn't have an yo, then this is your only option here. Okay, when you're trying to figure out which is the correct form to use for any verb. All right, so let me know if I can go on to the next slide. Give me a thumbs up. Because we're getting ready to practice here. So give me a thumbs up if y'all are ready to rock. Jamarian, you ready? Malia, yeah, Marlesia's ready. Brooklyn, Jamarian's ready. Yeah, Brooklyn, okay. Anybody else? Arshad, you ready? Malia, did you thumbs up me? I don't remember seeing that. No? Okay. I'll give you another minute. Okay, perfect. Arshad. All right, you guys. Thanks so much. Okay. So let's just take a look up here. And we won't do all of these. Okay. But we have all three verbs, pedir, querer, and preferir. Okay, so they're telling us already here which verb to use to fill in the blank. So all we have to figure out, you guys, is the form. Which form are we going to use? So in this case, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start out where you just put the answer in the chat for me. Okay, so that you can kind of get used to the spelling change, kind of like practice your spelling, right, you guys? And then I'm going to ask you to unmute and you can just fill in the word for me out loud. Okay, everybody good with that? All right, so let's start easy, right? Let's start easy and let's do número dos first. Okay, so it's yo, and then the verb is querer. So in the chat, well, how would you fill in this blank? Again, it's about spelling, practicing our spelling since there's that stem change. So pop it in the chat. Marlesia, gracias. Jamarian, gracias. Leah Brooklyn, gracias. Arshad. How would we spell this? Be careful, Brooklyn. It's yo, right? It's yo. Malia and Arshad. There you go, Brooklyn. Yep. All right. So if you said clase, if you said oopsie, quiero, then you're absolutely right. Yo quiero una ensalada de tomates. So what does this person want? Malia, can you translate the sentence for me? Yo quiero una salada de tomates. What is this person saying? Número dos. Yeah, very good. I want a salad, tomato salad. Absolutely. Perfect. Okay. All right. Let's do clase. Let's do número tres. Let's do número tres. So how would we fill in the blank? So notice that they have this here. Very good, Marlesia. Except it's preferir, right? You would be right if it was the other verb. This is preferir. There you go. Very good. Okay, anyone else? Número tres, pop it in the chat. All right. So, sí, muy bien. So it would be, oopsie, prefieres. Prefieres. So notice that stem, that change of spelling, right? Very good, Brooklyn. Very good. All right. Let's come down here to, let's see what I want to do. Oh, I know. Let's do number 6. Número 6 right here, you guys. Número 6. La señora Gomez. So Mrs. Gomez. And our verb is preferir. La señora Gomez. Pop it in the chat. Very good, Marlesia. Arshad, we're on number 6. Malia, Jomarian, pop number 6 in the chat. Number 6 right here is preferir, right? Very good, Brooke. Okay, anyone else? All right, so if you said prefiere, right? Because this La Señora Gomez would be the same as ella, she, right? So ella prefiere pollo con papas fritas. Who can translate number 6? Who can put it in English for us? You can unmute if you like, or you can pop it in the chat. La señora Gomez prefiere pollo con papas fritas. What does she prefer here? What is this sentence telling us? Jamarian, what's she saying here? La señora Gomez prefiere pollo con papas fritas. What does she prefer? What's pollo? Y'all remember? Or papas? Yep. So she prefers what kind of potatoes? Chicken with French fries. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. All right, give me 1 second, you guys. All right. All right, let's fast forward here. Yeah, chicken with French fries, I know. All right, let's look at número 11. Número 11. So we're down here, number 11. And our verb is pedir, to ask for. So first of all, how would we fill in the blank? You can pop it in the chat. Then you can, let's figure out what the sentence is trying to tell us. Yeah, very good, Marlesia. Arshad, I'd like to hear from you. How are we going to fill in this blank, you guys? Pop it in the chat. Who remembers el desayuno? We had desayuno, el almuerzo, la cena, right? We're still talking about food here. Okay, close, Malia, so close. Yep, that's it, Brooklyn. Close, Malia. All right. Jamarian, how about what's the sentence trying to tell us? Yeah, yes, Malia. Because these are irregular, so they're going to follow a totally different pattern, right? They're stem changers. Arshad, you going to give this one a try? All right, well, let's look. So, yeah, that's it, Brooklyn. It's pedal. Pedal. Okay. So again, this is why we're doing these. If we look here, you guys, right? Pedal. This would be our yo forms and our tu forms, right? And then this would be usted, él and ella, nosotros, ustedes, ellos, and ellas, right? So you can see these here are the plurals, right? And then these up here are the singulars, okay? So pido, the I or the E becomes an I, right? But we still have our regular IR verb endings, O, ESE, emos, and N, okay? They're stem changers. That's the goofy part. All right, so let's see if we can figure out what they're saying. What is el desayuno? Brooklyn says it's breakfast. So for breakfast, yo pido. I ask for, what is cereales con leche? What's your guess? There's a cognate, cereales. What is cereales? Very good. Cereal.
It's cereal.
Cereal with milk. Absolutely. Somebody was going to say. So for breakfast, that siempre is always, I always ask for cereal with milk. Okay. All right. Any questions for those? See, it's just a matter of practice, right, you guys? Totally a matter of practice. Okay. All right. Give me a minute to get my slides sorted out here. And you guys, if you have that visual open, just go ahead and keep it open, okay? Because you're going to need to refer to those forms. I'm trying to get my screen ready here. Give me a sec. And we're going to do something out loud from our textbook. So that's why it's taken me a minute so I can get that opened up. And we want to, okay. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. Again, you guys should have either your notes in front of you, or you guys should have the visual open on another tab. Okay, I don't expect you to have these memorized. Okay, this is just more practice, but it's just a little trickier because notice that there's no notes up here for you to look at, right? You're going to have your own. All right, so it says, can you guess what Tim and Mac's Peruvian friends want to eat? Complete the following sentences with the verbs querer, to want, and preferir, to prefer. And again, we're not going to do all of these as a class, okay? There are 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Malia and Marlacia, okay, the two M's, you guys are the two M's. You're going to do this first one, okay, and I'll write it up here as soon as I can get my mouse to cooperate. Okay, so the two M's, right? Marlacia and Malia, you guys are going to do this one. Brooklyn, we can give you this next one. Arshad, you get the third one. And then Joe, you get the last one. Okay, everybody with me? So I'm gonna give you all a minute. When you're ready, you just pop your answers in the chat. Okay, Brooklyn. So Brooklyn, we're saying he here, right? We're talking about he. So you got to be careful which form you use. So try that again. Malia, let's see. Very good, Malia. Good job. Okay, come on, you guys. So this one's going to be L, and this one's nosotros, and this one is yo. So use those charts in your notes. Malaysia. Perfect, Malaysia. Nicely done. So Marion, how you doing? You got nosotros. You got the one that doesn't change. Arshad, you got the yo. Yay, Arshad. Beautiful. Okay, so just based on, I'm just going to read what you guys have in the chat for me. Okay, so ella quiere naranjas. Does she want oranges? Ella quiere naranjas. We want to say no, she doesn't want oranges. She prefers apples, right? So it's she, ella. Okay, so you all are telling me ella no quiere naranjas. Prefiere manzanas, and you're absolutely right. Okay. So here's a clue. Now let's listen carefully, because remember that writing is one of our skills, and believe it or not, this is part of our writing practice. Okay. So let's look at this. This is ella. So we are talking about her. If we are asking about her, you guys, this is a little like a hack, right? Like a cheat. Then you're still talking about her in the response. Y'all see what I'm getting at here? And so whatever the ending is, since we're using quiere again in our response, so whatever this ending is the same ending that you're going to use here. Ella no quiere and prefiere. Do you see what I'm getting at here, you guys? Because we're talking about her. Now, it's different if somebody asks you the question, and then you're going to have to say I, right? Like if somebody said in English, do you want oranges? No, I prefer apples. I. So the thing would change from you to I, right? But if we're talking about somebody else, it's not going to change, right? So use it as a clue, right? That's like your clue. So same here. Él quiere pescado. Does he want fish? Okay. And so, no, he doesn't want fish. So same deal. No, él no quiere, because it's still él, right? Pescado. Él prefiere, same thing, carne. He prefers meat. Okay. All right. Now, Arshad had an interesting one. The question was, ustedes, do you all want coffee? Okay, so again, it's a direct question, which means in the response, the answer has to change. So, ustedes, do you all want coffee? No, we don't want coffee, right? So, nosotros no queremos café. Very good, Arshad. Queremos. Preferimos helado. We prefer ice cream. Okay. So remember, nosotros is always like the normal guy. He doesn't change. So queremos and preferimos. Okay. All right. This last one was a little tricky because it's tú. Do you want vegetables? Do you want greens? So if it's a direct question to you, again, you're going to have to answer, in this case, I. So no, yo no quiero, right? Quiero verduras. Prefiero una sopa. I prefer soup. Okay. One of the great things about yo, you guys, is I'll give you another cheat or another hack, is it ends in the letter O. And so quiero, right? And prefiero. Okay. So if you can't remember the yo ending, it's likely going to be an O, you guys, no matter what the verb. It's always going to be an O, unless it's gustar. Okay. Because those guys float around there by themselves. Yo no quiero verduras, prefiero una sopa. Okay. All right. Now, this next one, give me a minute to get my screen pulled up again. And we're going to do this one out loud. So be ready to talk. Okay. Let's see. Let's see which one I got here. All right. Let's see. All right, so this is a challenge. This is a bigger challenge. You guys remember we always start easy and then get more challenging. Okay, and we got blanks here. So instead of assigning this to you, right, I thought we could try a couple of these online. I mean, out loud, sorry. So let's look at our examples first of all. So we're going to use querer and we're going to use preferir. So those same two verbs. So again, you want to make sure, you guys, that you have those open in front of you. Okay. And these adverbs of quantity. So poco, mucho, bastante, whatever, right? So that visual that's in your resource library is going to help you here. Okay. So we're going to use querer, preferir, and those quantity words to explain the choices that people are making. So let's, for example, we got a heart and we got an X, right? So this is the one that we like, and this is the one that we don't. Everybody with me so far? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, Malaysia's got it. This is tricky, so I need everybody's attention. Okay, everybody with me here? I don't want to have to assign this. I'd rather that we do it out loud. So let me hear from you. The heart we like, the X we don't. And so we have yo, pescado, and carne. So we want to say, I want, or I prefer, whichever, fish, because, look here, because I don't like, no me gusta, or if it's plural, no me gustan, and then I don't like meat at all. So we have our adverb of quantity here. And so what we're going to be asked to do, you guys, is to put everything together, right? All the verbs and those adverbs of quantity and gustar, right, all together. So let's try to do one as a group, okay? So y'all need to listen because I'm going to ask you to do the same here in just a minute. Let me clear my mess here. Okay. So I'm going to look at the chart and I'm going to start with Andy and Janet. So Andy and Janet is the same as saying they, right, you guys, because we're talking about them. So in Spanish, how do we say they? Is it yo, tú, usted, él, ella, nosotros, ustedes, ellos, or ellas? How do we say they? Jamarian, Arshad, Brooklyn, Malia. Yeah, very good. So A is going to be ellos. We always go masculine, right? And then we can change it. So Andy's a dude. So we got to go ellos. Okay, ellos. So it wouldn't be usted because usted is singular, right? Not ustedes. But usted means you when we're being formal. And ustedes, plural, is like you all. Okay. And so that's if we're talking directly to someone. Here we are talking about Andy and Janet. So we need to say they. Okay. So we want to say that they want or they prefer, right? Juice because they don't like coffee. Okay. So let's try this together. I don't know if this is going to let me type in here, but we'll try it. Okay. So let's say Andy, I'll just do ellos because it's shorter. Okay. You guys take a look at my screen, please. Ellos. Now I need to either use preferir or querer. Okay. So let's just do prefer, right? So they prefer. So prefieren, because it's ellos, prefieren jugo, right? They prefer juice because, porque, in one word, they don't like, right? So, porque no les, because it's plural, see, les gusta, singular, because cafe is singular, right? El café. Now we got to add a nada or a something like that. So no les gusta nada el café. So they prefer juice because they don't like coffee at all. Okay. Questions here? Everybody see what I did? Okay. So it is 23 minutes after. Okay. By 9:30, I would like for you to make a sentence. You can't use the one I just made, obviously. You make a sentence, scrap paper in your head, however you work, because I'm going to call on you and I need for you to read to me your sentence, right? All right. So it's 23 after. By 9:30, be ready to speak a sentence to me. You guys can do this. You follow their example or follow my example, okay? And use the visual guide to help you with the correct form. Jamarian, you with me? Arshad? Yeah. Malia? If you need help, let me know. Okay, if you think you're ready to go, we don't have to wait until 9:30. Just let me know that you're ready to read it to me. Jo Marion, you working on this? Arshad? Leah? You gotta be brave. When you're ready, let me know. Jo Marion, you thinking about your Spanish, I'm hoping, and you're not doing something on a second monitor there. Okay, you guys remember our chat is our scrap paper. So if you want to pop them in the chat and let me look at them before you say them aloud, that'll work. Okay. Jamarian, Arshad, you want to pop your sentences in the chat and let me look at them real quick? All right, Brooklyn, I'm gonna bother you first. Okay, don't worry about it. It's all right. This is what we do. Okay, it's everybody's in the same boat. So go ahead and unmute and just read us your sentence real quick.
Rita prefiere manzanas porque no le gustan nada verduras.
That's it. Yay. No le gustan nada las verduras. Gustan, right? Because verduras is plural. Yay. Good job, Brooklyn. Nicely done. All right. Let's see. Malia, you're up, my friend. Go ahead and unmute and read us your sentence.
Rita prefiere comer arroz porque no le gustan las verduras.
Yay, Malia. Beautiful. Nicely done. Perfecto. Great job. All right, Marleisha, you're up. Unmute, por favor.
No, I don't think I did mine's right.
You did.
Um,
You got it. Just read it to us as best you can. It's all about practice. I don't
okay.
expect it to be perfect.
Rita prefiere arroz porque no me gusta nada el refrescos.
Okay, yay, muy bien. All right, so remember that if we're talking about Rita, the me becomes le because me means me, right?
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
then refrescos is plural, so we would need to add that in on gustan.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense? But your pronunciation was lovely. Very good. Nicely done.
Thank you.
All right, Jamarian or Arshad, one of you? Oh, that's okay. It doesn't matter, Brooklyn. It's just, we're just practicing our pronunciation, right? Arshad? Jamarian, you want to give it a try? No? All right. Arshad, how about you? Okay, you guys, we need to at some point, right, practice our pronunciation. Okay. All right, muy bien. All right, let's move on. Okay, so give me 1 second. I need to go back into the modules and publish a couple of things here, or at least one thing. So give me a minute. My computer's jumping. Jump, 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 jump. All right, you guys, we did a lot of hard work today, and it's much appreciated. Okay, so what I need for everyone to do is to head on over to Canvas and refresh your screen. Okay, so go ahead and refresh your screen. Joe Marion, I need you in Canvas and refreshing your Canvas screen, please. Okay, so when you guys get there, head on over to our Peru unit, Unidad Cuatro, right? And you should see at the bottom, you should see something that says ¿Qué quieres? ¿Qué quieres? Right? Let me share my screen. Okay. So, look for the little brain. Here's your visual guide. You guys, my screen. Here's your visual guide. Here's your brain, which means it comes from VHL, right? And then go ahead and on it. Is it opening for you? I'm hoping. So this is a simple 1 through 6, you guys, is a simple fill in the blank with the correct form of the verb. Okay. However, they come down here and they want you to answer the question, right? So you can see the verbs that we've been, or the words that we've been using, desayunar, comer, cenar, whatever, okay? And then down here, it's asking you at what time. So at what time do you prefer to breakfast? At what time do you prefer to dine with your family, okay? At what time do you prefer to eat with your best friend or whatever, okay? I'm going to ask you, listen carefully, 4, 5, and 6. Okay? 4, 5, and 6 down here in the sentences are not required. Are you following me? So I'm only asking that you respond to 1, 2, and 3. Is that clear, everybody? I'll put it in the chat, okay? Yes, you're answering the questions in Spanish. It's our writing practice, okay? So you'll fill in the blanks for all of them, right? But you'll only respond in Spanish, right? Using a full sentence. And then, when we grade it, I'll adjust the grade. Okay, so take a look in the chat. There's your instructions. Okay. All right. Any questions about the instructions? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. You guys you have about 3 minutes, am I right? So you can go ahead and probably get those blanks filled in. And I'll head over to Go Guardian and just, if you need help, I can see what you're doing. So, Jomarian, we are in ¿Qué quieres? ¿Qué quieres? Very good, Marlasia. Malia, I still can't see your Go Guardian screen. We need to fix that some way, somehow. Thank you, Arshad. Hey, don't forget those just sentences on 1, 2, and 3. You don't have to do sentences for 4, 5, and 6. Hey, you guys, that's our time. Any last minute questions? You guys did a good job today. It was hard. It was a lot. Okay. And you did great. All right. Reach out if you have any questions, you guys. Otherwise, have a great day. Adios a todos. Have a great one, you guys. Adios.